Hi, it's Julie Blackburn, and I wanted to just give you a touch base of some things that I'm thinking about as we continue through 2020. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, this has been one of the strangest years that I have experienced in my life, short of the year that I got married and went through all that marriage prep and then went through uh, the wedding, taking care of my mother-in-law when she was ill, and then eventually her moving in with us. So that was a lot in one year. But this year is kind of like that with busyness, but just a completely different way of life, completely different. So what I'd like to share with you is that I've decided to make some changes. Many of us have had time to reflect on our lives and how we want to pursue things going forward. And I am no different. And with the changes that I've kind of been seeing and some things that I've had to try out in my life, I actually am pretty excited about some of the things that I'm doing and what I've been able to trial and error and see what works. So I spent some time, and of course, as an art therapist, I reflect through artwork. And so I wanted to share just a little bit with you. This was part of my processing. And I really thought that this was a wonderful tool for me to really think about what are the different areas of Chartreuse Center and what are some of the different ways that I want to focus my valuable time and energy. We all have to think about these things. So obviously, counseling and couples and individual support is going to remain for Chartreuse Center. I am dedicated to the people that I work with, and I've noticed this year I've really spent some time focusing very, very closely on my current clientele and very few new clients coming aboard at this point, only for the mere purpose of providing that optimum support that I can give for my current clients. That will kind of morph and change as people graduate from the counseling and time is opened up in that area to provide more support. I've done some presentations this year, and some have been virtual, which was super cool to be part of a virtual conference and to present there with BP USA, so Bereaved Parents of the USA. Give you a shout out there. And it was a wonderful opportunity and an experience to be part of that virtual conference. Then also meeting up with some bereavement coordinators through in the Chicagoland area. We've been meeting fairly regularly, and this has been a wonderful way to reconnect with some people I've worked with in the past, as well as continue to work together as we all are exploring this virtual connectivity and how we can do virtual caring through these technologies that we have. So very excited about that. Some volunteering opportunities. I'm going to be continuing to do some things there, and that's, things that come up. It's really helpful to have some ideas of how much of that time I want to do, but then also allow myself that space of giving in a different way. Then there's going to be this other aspect. Right now, since March, I have been working from my home doing telehealth counseling services, and that has been very effective. The feedback I have received is that other than the actual connection of sitting across the table from someone, that it's not all that different being together through an online platform, but I think that has a lot to do with them as people, and also in myself and how I utilize the technology so that there doesn't feel like there's a huge disconnect as well. So I have these online programs, and one of the things that I have become so passionate about and wanting to do is to expand accessibility. And this was something that was going on in my mind, in my work, well before the pandemic. Um, this was something that I had been working with and talking with my employers when I worked at hospices about how do we extend our reach? How do we connect with people who are unable, for whatever their barrier, to get into the office? So at this point, what I'm looking to do is continue to build a library of these different topics, these lessons and focus points, so that if you can't get to me for some reason, or you don't live in my state where I'm licensed in Illinois and Indiana, but if you're in California or Texas or South Dakota, I want you to feel that you can still get that quality content of those most popular, most common talked about topics that I'm presented with in sessions. And that information is what I'm putting into each of these programs. So right now I have the First 52 program. This is a wonderful friend in grief for people who have just experienced the death of a loved one. There's a couple components to the First 52 program. One is an email care plan base for hospices that can be used. The other is for Blue Family First 52. So this would be for our police officer and law enforcement families and personnel. So that is one area of grief support that's available online, self-guided, little tidbits of information that comes weekly directly to your email inbox. So it's really user-friendly. The other area that I focus on is infertility and family building struggles. So there's a program called Embrace You that I've created that has 6 different courses in it. And actually they're pretty thorough courses. They're pretty wonderful, I'd have to say, where there's a lot of meat and good information in there. And it's activity driven. So you take that information and put it into practice in your life so that you can better understand your relationship with your fertility concerns. Each of those modules are available individually, so that's part of it too. If you're struggling in one area of life versus another, even though fertility touches so many parts of our life, it doesn't necessarily mean that a person's going to struggle in all those areas. When it comes to fertility, there's going to be some additional programs that are going to be developed. And one of those programs is, this is a next year goal, is that it will include topics around, it's not by choice topics. So the very first one that I'm going to develop is going to be living child-free, not by choice. This is one of those really tough aspects of infertility. And then another aspect is going to be an unsuccessful fertility treatment grief program. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to look. I've been testing a couple things along the way, And sometimes a group setting's nice, but sometimes that individual might be better. So I'm still on the fence as to how that's going to be on the end user kind of end. I have different life enrichment programs that are things like the 7-week mindset reset, where you actually take positive psychology techniques and it walks through that process of actually integrating those positive psychology components into everyday life. It's really a nice program. It's a daily program, and it's an email-based reminder program, or you can actually get on an app that of the platform, and you can just post in there every day. And then there's also things like the 90-day positivity boot camp, which has different content in it, but it's also having you post very regularly. There's also the holiday survival program, which I think there needs to be something different created this year. And so that may look a little different. I'm thinking of all these things because it is not the same as what we've ever experienced. So some of these different life enrichment programs, and then I'm having to actually step back a little bit and slow down regarding the Mending Me programs, as to after you've pretty much adjusted, then there's an identity realignment that comes about. So that Mending Me program would be addressing that. And then I'm looking at some parenting programs. Obviously, the life enrichment includes positive intentions that I do have on YouTube. But then the parenting programs had put out at the beginning of the year, and I was this close to scheduling it before March. It was right at the very beginning of March, and I was just about to schedule it, and we went in our stay-at-home orders, and so that didn't quite come to fruition, but it is something that I'm still planning on doing. And those are parenting adventure workshops, where we go into different environments where like they're indoor amusement parks. Like there's one actually right near here that I was going to do the first couple and see how it worked out. But there's like a high ropes course and bumper cars, and using those as metaphors for different parenting situations to help people kind of get their mind wrapped around different points of view of how that could be taken as a parent and child in their parent-child relationships. And then also continuing on the parenting with tenacity, love, and courage. So parenting with TLC is going to continue. And I have a lot of ideas and a lot of information for that, because I have been with my kids like 24/7. And that's no joke, like really. And I think a lot of parents have expressed some frustration. That's what I've heard over time. And as a parent who created my family through foster care adoption, I will certainly tell you my view of parenting is different, though I do still have very similar tough times, if you will, when I'm having times with my children, and we're kind of not seeing eye to eye. Literally not eye to eye, right? So there's going to be some things there, but the real core of the work that I'm going to be doing is things that enlighten and uplift people, that create connection, growth opportunities, and they're also creative and honest. So this is the real aspects and the growth opportunities that continue to flourish when I think of Chartreuse Center and what it is that I want to do with my time. This sounds like a lot, and it is quite a number of things, but what I can tell you is that it's exciting. I specialize only in these areas because I truly believe this is where I can make an impact. I know that this is where my skills are. I know this is where my heart is connected. Other people focus on other things because that's where their heart is connected. And that's great because we all don't need everyone doing the same thing. With that being said, this is my plan for next year, and I'm going to start implementing this, but I just wanted to send this out to you all and just kind of let you know that this is the plan right now. All right. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you. On Facebook, on Instagram, in the blog. I do think that just for people's information that the podcast is going to take a back seat because really I've got enough to do with all these other things. And there might be some time where I start to translate some of those things into podcast forms. So that can be maybe later on next year if that comes up as something that's wanted. But at this point, I'm going to just give it a back seat for right now and revisit it next year. All right. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you taking the time to see what's going on in this little world called Chartreuse Center. I always wonder what color is your center, because mine is Chartreuse. And it's kind of a neat way to kind of think of who we are, because each of us have our own unique color that's important to them. All right. You take care. Bye-bye.